Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today I will talk about samples and their types in this video, and this topic is very important for the NET exam. You will always have questions from this topic, so please watch it carefully and try to understand the concept. This is lecture 9. Till now I have uploaded total 8 lectures on research aptitude, so please go and check them. Those who are watching my video for the first time, please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon. The first question is, what is sample? Okay, so sample is a subset of population selected to represent the whole set of population. So here the thing is that you have a one population. Okay, this population can be anything. It can be schools, it can be books, anything. And from this large population you will select a small chunk that will be called sample. Why we do so? Because by taking out the sample from this large population, we will save our time, energy, money, lots of things. So how sample works? I will give you a very common example, that if you go to the market and there is a sack of rice, you just take a little amount of rice from that sack and you will make a judgment, yeah, whether it is fine rice or not, like whether this rice you will buy or not. You decide with that small quantity of rice that you have taken out from that sack. So what you are doing, that small amount from that sack is actually representing the whole rice of that sack. So this small amount is called sample and the whole sack of rice was population. I hope now you understand what I mean by sample. Let's take another example. Suppose there is a school in a town and it has around 5,000 students. Okay, that is the strength of that school. So it is not possible for you to go and collect data from each student of this school, that is 5,000. So what you will do, that you will simply select maybe around 500 from this large population, and this 500 will known as sample, that is small population, not small population, sorry, that is sample, that's it. And this large 5,000 is known as population, that is denoted by capital N, and this sample is denoted by small n. So here this 500 is representing the general character of the 5,000 students. So this is known as sampling, that is small selection from a large population. So here we have population is denoted by capital N and sample is denoted by small n. Okay, so these are the ways to denote the sample and the population. This population can be anything. It can be schools, manufacturing units, and so on, anything. Whatever chunk you take out from that population, that will be termed as sample, that is denoted by small n. So what are the factors that affect the inferences drawn from sample? Whatever the sample we take, we draw a conclusion, right? The example that I gave of that sack of rice, from that small quantity of rice you just made a conclusion whether that rice bag contains a good quality of rice or bad quality of rice. So from that sample we draw inferences. So there are few factors that affect. The first factor is sample size. It is directly proportional to accuracy, means if sample size is high, you have lots of n, okay, then the chances of the inferences that is being drawn from this sample to be accurate is very high. But there is one thing, that is, if there is a variation in population, if it is heterogeneous, for example, the same rice bag has layers of rice. The topmost layer has good quality rice, second layer has little bit bad, and the last layer has the worst quality of rice. So if there is a variation, then the certainty in the outcome is not certain. Okay, you can't say that from this topmost layer that all the rice are going to be good in this bag. That is why if there is a variation in population, then the certainty of outcome is inversely related. That will be higher the variations, lower will be the certainty of the outcome. So this is all about sample. I hope this example of rice bag must have helped you to understand about samples and the factors that affect the inferences that are drawn from this sample. Next we have types of sampling techniques. So there are basically two types with the help of which the samplings are being done by the researcher. The first one is known as probability or random sampling or probability or random sample. Under this, each person in the population has equal, independent and known chances of being selected. So what is it saying? That each person, like whatever sample you are going to take out from that large capital N, the selection of each is in equal, independent and known chances of being selected. For example, there is a box and it has around 1000 books. It has around 1000 books, that is population is 1000, and from this 1000 you draw around 100 books. Okay, so the chances of the books to be selected was always 1 upon 1000, equal chance. This can be selected or this can be or any other book can be selected randomly. So this comes under probability sampling or random sampling, where each person or each element in a population has equal, independent and known chances of being selected. So this is about probability or random sampling. Next we have the types of probability or random sampling. So there is a further division of the first one, that is under this probability or random sampling we have the very first type, that is known as simple random sample. Under this, each element or member of the population has a known and equal chances of being selected. The same example of the book, that there is a one box, it has around 1000 books. Each book has a chance of being selected is 1 upon 1000. Each book has a chance of being selected equally and independent of each other. So this is known as simple random sampling. Next we have stratified random sampling. Okay, so here the word stratification already denotes that there is some kind of layering or divisions are going on. So first understand this, that it is applied in a heterogeneous population. If there is a heterogeneous population, then you are going to apply this one, stratified random sampling. So how we do it? For example, you go to a college and that college has two streams. One is science and other is humanities. Okay, and what you do in this, that you divide the college students between these two, one into science stream and other into humanities stream. By doing this, what we are doing in actual is that we are homogenizing them, right? So this science group has only those students who have opted science, and this humanities have only those who have opted humanities. So we have a homogeneous group, right? Now from this homogeneous group you can randomly draw samples. For example, this science, the strength of this science student was around maybe 200 and of this humanities was 300. Okay, so from this science, from that block of science, from that column of science, it has 200 students. The selection of each student is 1 upon 200, that is, it is equal. So what we did in stratified random sampling, first we divided the heterogeneous group into homogeneous group, and from each homogeneous group we are going to apply random sampling. So we are doing at two stages. First stage is categorization into homogeneous groups and then drawing randomly from each group. So here is the example which I gave you. Now look at this, humanities at total 300. So if I am going to draw the sample randomly, then the chances of being selection of each student is going to be equal, that is 1/300. I hope you are getting it. This thing, simple random sampling, was applied at the second stage of stratified random sampling. So these was about these two. Next we have cluster sampling. Okay, but before going into this, let's make something more clear. That is, if population size is small and units are identifiable, then we apply simple and stratified random sampling. And if population is very large, not small, then in that scenario we will use cluster sampling method. So what we do in cluster sampling method is that we divide the naturally occurring group into an exclusive groups. I will give you an example. For example, you are in a particular area and that area has three streets, street A, B and C, like A, B and C. So these streets are naturally occurring, you haven't made, because in stratified, just remember, we were making the homogeneous group, but in cluster sampling natural groups are already present and these groups can be both homogeneous or heterogeneous. So for example, on this street A, there is a population of old women, young men, then children, then married couple, unmarried couple. So it is heterogeneous, right? The same case can apply here, or maybe on street C. This can be the division, and these clusters are occurring naturally. You haven't created them, because in stratified sampling we were making a homogeneous group, but in this clusters are already available naturally. Researcher has to only select any of these clusters using random sampling method. So for example, I am a researcher and I selected street B. So each and every element on this street B has to be under my research. I have to collect data from everyone. I can't make any choice here whether that population comprises of only young people, or maybe there is a mixture of young, old, children, women, men, and married or single. Then I have to go and collect data from each of them. I can't do anything. So what happened in this, that there was a cluster already available. I just draw a random sampling and pick one cluster. Whatever cluster I got, I have to collect data from each individual from that cluster. I can't be exclusive in picking up the people. I can't. I have to just pick up the cluster. So because of this stages, it is also known as multi-stage cluster sampling. Let's take another example to understand this in a more better way. For example, I have to do a research on the nationalized banks in India. So I have India as a country, then it is divided into multiple states, and these multiple states are further divided into districts, then cities, and there are also villages. Okay, so these are naturally occurring clusters which researcher hasn't created. It is already there. So under cluster sampling, what I am going to do is that I have to pick a cluster using random sampling techniques. So for example, if I pick up the cluster of city, okay, so whatever number of banks are there, I have to go to each bank and I have to collect data from that bank. I can't do a random sampling under a cluster. I have only authority to do random sampling with clusters, not inside the clusters. What are the elements inside the clusters? I can't do anything in that. So my job under cluster sampling method is to do random sampling of clusters. I hope now you must have understand what is the difference between cluster sampling and stratified random sampling. Moving on, The other type is non-probability sampling. So it is non. It means no. So under this non-probability sampling, there is no equal chance of the individuals or any elements in the population to be selected. So it is completely opposite of probability sampling. It has further divisions, and they are: the first one is convenience sampling. The researcher selects the easiest population members to obtain information. So whatever population is there, like they are not going to be very much worried and doing some hard work, whatever population they get conveniently, easily, they are going to draw sample from them and do their research. The second one is judgment or purposive sampling. Under this, the researcher uses his or her judgment to select population members. So it's all about dependent on the judgment of the researcher. So when judgment comes into place, then the chances of equality is reduced to zero. It will depend on my judgment and on my purpose or objective of the research or collection of data, that I will go and choose the person or choose any school, whatever is my research topic, to select it. So it doesn't have equal chance of selection. It is completely judgmental, subjective. The next one is quota sampling. So under this quota sampling, the researcher finds and interviews prescribed number of people in each several categories. So whatever is the prescribed number of people, that number of people can be accommodated for the research work or for collecting the data. For example, you have a quota that male are going to be 10%, female are going to be 40%, transgenders are going to be 50%. This is your quota, prescribed number of people that you have to do research. Not research, that you have to collect data from them. So under that scenario, if you are going to do research, for example, on if you are going to take 100 population, if you are going to do research on 100 population, so under that scenario, out of 100, the 10 has to be male, 40 has to be female, and 50 has to be transgender. So this was about quota sampling. Let's try to understand this quota sampling with another example. So suppose I am a researcher and I am applying non-probability sampling techniques for my research work, and under that non-probability sampling technique I am going to apply and use quota sampling. So according to my sampling technique and my quota sampling condition, that I have to do research on suppose 1000 students, but I have a quota for each. So for example, my quota says that for students from class 1 to 4, the strength should be 40%. From 5th to 8th, it should be 10%, and the remaining, that is from 9th to 12th, it should be 50%. So this is my quota. Out of 1000, the students from class 1 to 4 should be 400, from 5 to 8 should be 100, and from 9 to 12 should be 500. So this is my quota sampling, that I have a fixed quota that I am going to apply while collecting the data or while drawing my samples and then collecting data from them. The fourth one is accidental sampling. It is similar to quota sampling, same to same, but it is used in market research. So if you are using quota sampling technique in market research, then it is known as accidental sampling. And under this accidental sampling, a researcher come across any person and they may, which you have selected, have no information at all. So this comes. So under this quota sampling, what we see, that the equal chance of selection is not there. It is unequal. That is 40% from this class 1 to 4, then 10%, then 50%. So because of this quota classification, there is no equal chance of selection. That is why it comes under non-probability sampling techniques. The next one is accidental sampling. As I have told you, it is similar to quota sampling and it is done in market research. So because a researcher come across any person, the researcher can come across any person and that person may not have any information. So under this also it is non-probability because it is very accidental. If I am in the market and my intention is to draw the sample, so I will do it with my own purpose. Okay, I will just make a guess whether this person is going to give me an information or not. If I go to that person and the information is zero, right, and maybe I don't pick a person who actually has an information about my research work, that person can be part of my sample, but I am not going to that because of my own judgmental things. That is why it also comes under non-probability sampling techniques. The fifth one is snowball sampling. So under this, the information may be selected from few people. So from these few people, informations are being selected and they may identify other people, and these few people help to identify other people from where the data can be gathered. So it is like creating a network of sample elements. So this is sample 1, this is another sample, and this sample can help us to find another group of people who can act as a sample. So it is like a network, right? It is a network and it is known as a snowball. So this was about the snowball sampling, and this is also non-probability sampling because here whatever person is being referred to by this group, I am going to that, and at the same time I am not looking at other possibility of collecting data from other population because I am not following the random sampling where everyone has equal chance. Here it is already that everyone doesn't have equal chance. They are referring to this, these are referring to this, and this group will refer to other group further, and like this it will continue and it will form a network of sample elements. The next we have determining sample designs. How do you determine your sample designs? Okay, the first thing is that sample itself, on whom you are going to do survey, from whom are you going to collect data, whether it's students, schools, manufacturing unit, production of certain products, or what is that. That is one reason. Other reason is sample size. What is going to be the size? Is it going to be a large size, or is it going to be small, average? Then it also determines. It is determined by purpose. What is the purpose of your research? What population you are going to pick up, and what is the procedure, whether you are going to use probability or non-probability, under that which type of probability or which type of non-probability. So all these things. And the third one is that, yes, the same thing, what procedure you are going to apply. So these things determine the sample design. So guys, this was for today. I hope this video will help you to develop your concept on samples, and I will suggest please try to remember every sample techniques, every type, with the help of an example, because if you have understood the concept with the help of example, so you are not going to confuse at all and you will easily crack the exam. If you really like this video, please like it, share it and subscribe.